Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as I give you an update on some rosemary that I started from seed. So let's go. Today is April 22nd. About 2 months ago, I sowed the seeds for rosemary. I made a video talking a little bit about that process, and I'll put a link to that down in the description in case you missed it. Since that last video, I've been potting up my rosemary plants. They've been doing really well. I wanted to just give you an update on how they're doing and how many plants I have right now. I've also started the process of hardening off my rosemary plants. My average last frost date is May 15th, but the weather has been super nice outside. So I've been bringing the plants out, I've been putting them in the shade, and then after a few days they get a little bit more sun, and eventually they work their way up to getting sunlight all day long. I've been potting up these plants in a DIY potting mix that I make myself, and I'll put the ingredients up on the screen. When you see parts, that just means whatever I'm using for scooping up the ingredients, which in my case is a bowl. So 1 bowl would equal 1 part. The rosemary plants are being potted up from small 2-inch pots into bigger 3-inch pots. While the plants are indoors, I continue to bottom water them. However, once I harden them off and I bring them outside, at that point I don't need to bottom water. I can go ahead and water them from above. This was my first year growing rosemary from seed, and I was very pleased with how successful I was growing it. I'm going to show you my process for potting up the plants from a 2-inch to a 3-inch pot. I'm going to show you how many more little seedlings need to be potted up, and then I'm going to bring you outside and show you how the plants are doing that I potted up about a week ago. I pre-moistened my potting mix, so when I let go, you can see that it holds its form, and that's the perfect consistency. And yet when I squeeze it, there's no water dripping out. Especially with rosemary, you don't want your potting mix to be too wet. In fact, rosemary is like lavender. It prefers the soil to be a little bit on the drier side. I potted a lot of my rosemary in these 3 by 3-inch pots. I also have this other size pot that I got for free from a local garden center, and that's what we're going to use right now. The big thing is, no matter what pot you use, make sure it has drainage holes. So we're just going to fill our pot with the potting mix. And you want to shake it just to get the soil to settle. You don't want any air pockets in there. The rosemary definitely need to be potted up. They're starting to have their roots coming out from the bottom. That's usually an indicator that it's time to pot up a plant. I'm just squeezing the sides to loosen the plant in its pot. We're just going to pull it out. And I just want to make a hole in the center of the pot here so I can easily place my plant inside the middle. You always want to handle a plant by its leaves. You don't want to handle it by its stem, because if the stem breaks, the plant could die. If you handle it by its leaf and a leaf breaks, that's okay. There's still plenty of leaves here. We just want to help guide the roots into the pot, and then we can basically just shake around it and push down. Add a little bit more potting mix. I'm just pushing down. I'm tapping the sides. I just want the plant to settle into its new home. And that's what it looks like on the side. We're going to do a few more just to fill up the tray. When it comes to potting up any plant, including rosemary, I don't like to just automatically plant my seed in a big pot like this. And the reason is it's very hard to control moisture levels when you're watering plants. If you have a small, teeny tiny plant in a big pot like this, how do you know how much water to give it? So I feel like it's better to take your time when it comes to potting up plants. Look at those wonderful roots. The plant is very healthy. But especially plants like lavender and rosemary, because they do not do well if the soil is too wet, it's better to just baby them a little bit. Bump them up slightly. You don't want to rush it when it comes to potting them up. Even though potting up is a lot of work, it's very tedious, certain plants will resent it if they get too wet. They can rot and then they can die. That's what that plant looks like. And let's do one more. I've had a lot of fun growing rosemary from seed. I did not cut them back. I had planned on it. I had planned on cutting them back so that they could branch a little bit. And I'd love to hear from you. If you've ever grown rosemary from seed, do you normally cut it back so that it branches more? Or do you just let it do its thing? Because when I'm looking at the plant, I can see that it's already starting to branch out on its own. which is why I have not cut it back yet. What I'm noticing when I squeeze the sides of these pots is that the roots are really in there. So I have to put my finger in the back side here and just kind of help the plant out. That just means I have to guide all of the roots in there as I put the plant into the planting hole. And I'm trying to shake it but kind of lift the plant because I don't want to bury the plant too deep. I want the roots to be beneath soil level, but I want the greenery to be above soil level the best that I can. And then I just kind of push down and shake the pot like that. And as long as you can see the bottom growth there, you don't want to cover that, then you're good to go. This is what I have left for rosemary seedlings in these small 2-inch pots. And in some cases, I had tucked in extra little seedlings on the side of the pots. One thing you might also notice is that some of the seedlings are quite large, whereas other seedlings are still very small. One thing I've learned about rosemary, and again, it's very similar to lavender, is not all the seeds germinate at the same time. So this seedling here probably germinated a lot earlier than these seedlings did. And that's fine. I can just keep potting up the bigger seedlings and the little ones can continue staying indoors under my LED shop lights. And here's a nice tray of 18 rosemary plants that have been potted up into 3-inch pots. Let's bring them out to my porch and I'm going to show you where I'm going to be hardening them off. Here we are on my side porch, and this is a covered porch. Half of it gets quite a bit of shade. I've had a lot of success hardening off my plants under this porch. I usually just bring them from inside to here. I leave them here for 1 to 2 days. So they're still getting a little bit of a breeze, but it's not a direct breeze. They're definitely not getting any sun. They're going to be in the shade. And then I can slowly start moving them into the sunnier parts of my porch so that they're exposed to sun for a few hours each day, a little bit more each day. Eventually, they are then put in full sun. That's where my rolling carts come into play. Let me bring you over there and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. These are just DIY rolling carts that my husband made for me for the simple purpose of hardening off plants. These carts come out during the day, and if it is a warm night, they stay outside. But if the nights are going to be cooler or the days are going to be cooler, these have wheels on them. They get wheeled right back into my garage, which is behind me. You might be thinking, wait a minute, these carts are pretty full. Yes, they are. I still need to go through and clean up some plants on here. There's lettuce that I started indoors. Some of it's already starting to bolt. I need to clean that up. There's a few plants that I overwintered that didn't make it. I need to clean those up. There's some strawberries on here that I potted up from my raised beds that I'm going to be selling as part of my backyard plant nursery. They really don't even need to be on here. They should just be brought down to my plant nursery. On a different day, I'll come here and I'll start cleaning through here. But my plan right now is to start potting up plants, moving plants, getting rid of plants, bringing them down to the nursery, a lot going on. So before I finish this video, I'm going to bring you in and I want to show you the rosemary plants that have been out here for about a week or two. Those look like rosemary, but those are some lavender that I started from seed. Don't they look wonderful? Some canna lilies that I started from seed. Right between the canna lilies are more lavender that I started from seed even earlier during the winter. Here they are. Here are some of the rosemary that were potted up about 1 or 2 weeks ago, and they are now fully hardened off and they are loving their life. I just gave them a drink of water yesterday. They are good. They do not need water now for a number of days. I will only water them once they start drying out. And that's what you want to do with your rosemary. You want to actually let it dry out in between watering. You don't want to love it to death and give it too much water. Look at the petunias that we started from seed. Some of these were Dollar Tree petunias. Some of these were petunias that I collected the seeds from. And you can even see that this one here has a bud on it. Consider this a mini seedling tour. So that's my update on the rosemary that we grew from seed. I am very pleased with how the rosemary turned out. I'm excited to offer it for sale as part of my backyard plant nursery. And if you're growing rosemary from seed, I hope you've had just as much success. If you have any questions or comments, I love hearing from you. Please drop them down below. And until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.